You ever wonder why some men seem impossible to replace while others get forgotten the second they walk out the door? Here's the truth. Once a man wakes up to what I'm about to tell you, the game is over. Women can't play it the same way anymore. And if you don't know this yet, you're probably the one getting played. Most men give too much. They give their time, their attention, their energy, even their pride, hoping it will be enough to keep her close. At first, she enjoys it, but over time, she stops valuing it. The more you pour into her without control, the less she feels for you. Deep down, you've probably felt that sting the moment she seems bored, distracted, or already looking for something else while you're still trying harder. But here's the shift. When you finally see what love really is, when you realize the power of your attention, when you learn to stay calm instead of reactive, you flip the script. Suddenly, the things that used to control you stop working. She starts noticing. She starts fearing the loss, because the man who no longer chases is the man she can't stop thinking about. What I'm going to show you in this video is not theory. It's a set of truths that, once you understand, change everything about how women see you, how they treat you, and how you carry yourself. Miss it, and you stay stuck. Learn it, and you'll never see relationships the same way again. Let's get into it. Number 1. The truth behind her love. Most men grow up believing that when a woman says she loves you, it means the same thing as when you love her. You think it's unconditional, eternal, the kind of love that will hold steady no matter what. But here's the truth. Her love is not the same as yours. Women's love is tied to what they feel in the moment, and those feelings are always shifting. This doesn't make her wrong or cold, it makes her human. But if you don't understand this, you'll set yourself up for disappointment again and again. Take Mark, a 42-year-old man from Chicago. He spent years bending over backwards for his wife Lisa, who's 39. He worked late hours, bought her gifts, always said yes to her requests. At first, she seemed grateful, but slowly, she stopped looking at him with admiration. She started to pull away emotionally. Mark kept telling himself, "She loves me. She'll always love me." What he didn't realize was that Lisa's feelings were tied to how she experienced him in the present. His constant availability and lack of boundaries made her feel safe, but not excited, secure, but not drawn in. Eventually, she told him she felt something was missing. Here's the hard truth. Women fall in love with how you make them feel, not how much you sacrifice, not how much you give. And when those feelings fade, so does the strength of her love. That's why men who cling, who try to prove their worth through endless giving, often lose the very love they're chasing. The Stoics understood this principle long before modern psychology gave it language. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." A woman's love works in the same way. It's her reaction to your presence, your strength, your energy. If your energy feels weak, her reaction shifts. If your energy feels strong, grounded, and scarce, her reaction intensifies. Look again at Mark's story. The moment he began setting boundaries, leaving work on time, saying no when necessary, putting his own goals first, Lisa's energy toward him shifted. She didn't articulate it as love suddenly returning. Instead, she felt drawn to him again. She respected him. She looked at him with desire, not because he gave more, but because he stopped over-giving. This is the truth behind her love. It's conditional, responsive, and rooted in how you show up today. If you want to keep her love, don't chase it. Don't smother it. Live in a way that naturally earns respect and attraction. That means controlling your emotions, focusing on your growth, and never letting your entire identity depend on how she feels about you. When you finally see her love for what it really is, you stop making the mistake of trying to buy it or beg for it. Instead, you create the conditions where it thrives. You show her strength, presence, and self-respect. That's what makes her love deeper. That's what makes her stay. Now, I want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced that moment when you gave everything, but it only seemed to push her away? Drop it in the comments and stamp it with, "I know my worth." And if you think this truth cuts deep, just wait. What's coming next will make you rethink everything you thought you knew about her desire. Miss it, and you'll regret it. Stay, and you'll see the shift most men never catch. Number 2. Attention is her addiction. If love is tied to how she feels, then attention is the drug that feeds those feelings. Women crave attention the way a thirsty man craves water. It doesn't mean she's shallow or manipulative, it's simply how human psychology works. Attention validates her worth, it reminds her she's desired, and it fuels her emotions in the moment. But here's the catch. The more freely you give it, the less she values it. Think about this when you text her back instantly every single time, when you like every picture, when you're always available. You're handing her an unlimited supply of the very thing her mind craves. And just like any addiction, unlimited supply kills the high. It numbs the thrill. She stops appreciating it, and instead, she takes it for granted. The men who hold her interest the longest aren't the ones drowning her in attention. They're the ones who give it with control. They let her feel it, but they also let her miss it. They understand that scarcity creates value. When you don't rush to respond, when you stay busy with your own life, when you choose your attention carefully, you make her feel something powerful, desire mixed with uncertainty. The Stoics would call this discipline. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Your attention is an extension of your mind. If you hand it out recklessly, you give away your power. If you manage it with discipline, you increase its value. And the woman in your life will feel that shift immediately. Imagine for a moment what happens when you stop being predictable. She sends a message, and instead of replying within seconds, you wait until you're truly free. She notices the gap. She starts to wonder, did he see it? What is he doing? Who is he with? That small gap of uncertainty pulls her thoughts toward you far more powerfully than a flood of constant attention ever could. But let's be clear, this isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about balance. Too little attention and she'll feel neglected. Too much and she'll feel smothered. The art is in giving just enough that she feels seen, but holding back enough that she never stops craving more. Men often make the mistake of thinking consistency means always being there, always giving, always responding. But true consistency is different. It's showing up with quality when you choose to give your attention. It's making her feel the weight of your presence when you are there, not stretching yourself thin just to avoid silence. When you learn to treat your attention like the rare currency it is, something changes in her psychology. She starts to value your time more. She starts to chase for those moments. And most importantly, she begins to respect you. Because deep down, she knows that any man who controls his attention is a man who controls himself. So let me ask you, have you been giving your attention away too easily? Drop it in the comments and prove it with, "I control my focus." And here's the thing. If you think attention is powerful, wait until you see what happens when uncertainty itself becomes your ally. That shift can turn the entire dynamic upside down. Miss it, and you'll stay stuck in the same cycle. Stay here, and you'll see why some men become unforgettable. Number 3. Control emotions. Control the game. Here's the truth most men don't realize. The moment you lose control of your emotions, you lose control of the entire dynamic. Women are naturally wired to test men, not always in a conscious way, but because their emotions guide their behavior. If you react to every mood swing, every silence, every sharp word, you're not leading, you're following. And the second she feels you can't hold yourself steady, her respect for you starts to slip. Let me show you what this looks like in real life. Take David, 42, divorced for 3 years. He met Melissa, 38, at a friend's barbecue. Things clicked fast, but Melissa had a habit of pulling back suddenly. One day she'd be affectionate, the next she'd act distant. David's old self would have panicked, sent 3 texts in a row, demanded to know what was wrong, but this time he didn't. He remembered that emotions are like waves, they rise, they crash, and they pass. Instead of chasing, he stayed calm. He focused on his work, went to the gym, and let her come back on her own. And she did, every single time. Now compare that with Mark, 35, who dated Jessica, 34. Whenever she pulled back, he spiraled. He'd argue, over-explain, and beg for reassurance. The more emotional he became, the more distant she felt. Eventually, she lost interest, not because Mark didn't care, but because he cared without control. He let his emotions run the game, and she felt the weight of it. This is where Stoicism comes in. The Stoics taught that no one can control what happens outside of them, but they can always control their response. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." Women feel this truth deeply. When a man can stand steady in the middle of her storms, she sees him as rare. When he crumbles, she sees him as ordinary. Controlling your emotions doesn't mean being cold or robotic. It means mastering yourself enough to respond with intention instead of reacting on impulse. If she pulls back, you don't panic. You breathe, stay grounded, and let her energy swing back naturally. If she's upset, you don't match her fire with fire. You stay calm, speak slowly, and give her space. Over time, this creates a magnetic effect. She begins to trust your strength, even if she doesn't admit it out loud. But here's the paradox. Emotional control doesn't just affect her, it transforms you. The less you let yourself be swayed by her moods, the more confident you feel in your own skin. And that confidence changes the energy of every interaction. It's not about ignoring her feelings, it's about showing her that you won't drown in them. Think about it like this. Women are emotional by nature. They ride waves. Men who can't handle those waves get pulled under. But the man who learns to surf them, he becomes unforgettable. He becomes the anchor she didn't know she needed. So ask yourself, which man are you right now? The one who spirals when she pulls back, or the one who holds his ground until she comes closer again? If you want to prove where you stand, drop it in the comments. I hold my ground. And here's the kicker. Once you master this, once you show her that her storms can't shake you, the entire balance of power shifts. That's when she starts fearing the loss, not you. And if you leave now, you'll miss why that shift is the turning point every man needs to see. Number 4. Silence beats her chaos. Every man has faced this moment. She's upset, throwing words like daggers, her emotions rising higher and higher. Maybe she's blaming, maybe she's testing, maybe she's just spinning in her own storm. And what's the natural instinct for most men? To fight back, to explain, to defend. But here's the truth. The more you engage with her chaos, the more fuel you throw on the fire. Silence is not weakness. Silence is control. And when you learn how to use it, silence becomes the sharpest tool you have. Think about how many times you've tried to argue your way out of her moods. Did it ever actually work, or did it just drag you deeper into her whirlwind? The Stoics understood this thousands of years ago. Marcus Aurelius said, "You always own the option of having no opinion." That's not about being indifferent, it's about choosing not to get pulled into every emotional trap. When you stay silent in the middle of her storm, you send a clear message without saying a word. I am not moved by your chaos. That doesn't mean you ignore her completely. It means you don't let her emotions dictate your response. You hold steady, you give her space to feel, and in that silence, something shifts. She begins to feel her own emotions echoing back at her, and often, she calms herself down faster than you ever could by arguing. Here's where men get it wrong. They think silence means absence, but it doesn't. Silence is presence without reaction. It's you standing tall, breathing, watching, letting the storm pass. And when the storm does pass, you're still there, grounded and unshaken. That's when she feels your strength. That's when respect begins to grow. Women are deeply attuned to energy. When you fight back with words, she feels your energy spiral out of control. When you go silent, calm, unshaken, she feels your energy dominate the moment. She might get frustrated at first. She might push harder. But the longer you hold your silence, the more she feels her own chaos reflected back to her. And deep down, she respects it. Silence also creates space for desire. Chaos is loud, but attraction thrives in the quiet. When she realizes she can't control your emotions with her storm, she feels both challenged and drawn in. You're not another man scrambling to please her. You're the man who can stand still while she spins. Now, let's tie this back to Stoicism. Seneca once said, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Her chaos is often her imagination running wild. Your silence acts like a mirror, showing her the difference between reality and the storm in her head. And that's why silence beats her chaos every time. This isn't about punishing her or playing games. It's about practicing mastery. A man who doesn't need to raise his voice, doesn't need to explain himself in the heat of the moment, is a man who commands respect without asking for it. And respect, once earned, creates attraction that runs deeper than fleeting passion. So here's what I want you to ask yourself. The next time she tests you with chaos, will you react or will you hold your silence like a shield? Drop it in the comments. I hold steady. And remember this, if you think silence is just about ignoring her, you're missing the point. Silence is about strength. Silence is about presence. And once you master this, you'll realize something powerful. The less you fight her storm, the more she'll want to rest in your calm. And if you walk away now, you'll miss why this one skill changes the entire game for men like you. Number 5. Options turn fear into fire. Every man has felt this at some point. When she thinks you have no other options, when she believes you'll always be there no matter how she treats you, her respect begins to slip. Desire fades when certainty takes over. But the second she feels you have options, the entire dynamic flips. What once felt like control to her suddenly transforms into fear. Fear of losing you to another woman. Fear of realizing she's not the only one who could have your attention. Take Tom, a 4-year-old divorced father in Texas. After years of chasing his ex-wife's approval, he entered a new relationship and repeated the same pattern, being available, explaining himself, centering his life around her moods. She loved the attention at first, but soon grew distant. One night, when Tom casually mentioned he'd been invited to a social event and wasn't sure if he'd attend, her reaction changed. She leaned in, asked questions, tried to gauge who might be there. For the first time, she realized she wasn't the only one in Tom's world. That moment of uncertainty ignited something in her. The man she thought she had fully secured suddenly felt like a prize she could lose. Or consider Lisa, a 8-year-old executive from California, dating a man named Mark. Mark never rubbed it in her face, but he lived a full life: friends, hobbies, professional growth. Lisa once admitted, half joking, half serious, that she hated how other women seemed drawn to Mark when they went out. That hate wasn't really hate. It was the spark of fear turning into desire. She wasn't just with a man who adored her, she was with a man who could be adored by others. And that shifted the entire balance. This is how options turn fear into fire. It's not about flaunting other women or bragging about your desirability. It's about embodying the reality that you are a man of value, a man who could walk away and still thrive, a man whose presence is a choice, not a dependency. The Stoics understood this principle long before dating apps and modern psychology. Epictetus said, "He who is not master of himself will always be a slave." Options aren't only about women, they're about mastery. When you have a life so rich, so complete, that losing her doesn't break you, She feels that energy. She senses that you are not bound to her validation. That independence fuels her attraction. Now, here's where most men stumble. They confuse options with games, pretending to be busy, fabricating interest from other women, or using jealousy as a weapon backfires. Real options come from living fully, not performing tricks. When you pursue your passions, nurture your friendships, and carry yourself with quiet confidence, women pick up on it. They see you as a man with gravity, a man they don't want to lose. And the psychology is simple. Fear of loss is one of the strongest motivators in human behavior. When she knows you could leave, she holds tighter. When she sees that others notice you, she invests more. When she feels that your world is bigger than her, she steps up to secure her place in it. So here's the shift you need to make. Stop seeing yourself as a man who needs to prove his worth. Start living as a man whose worth speaks for itself. When she realizes that you have options and that you don't need her chaos to complete you, that's when her fear transforms into fire. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever noticed how her attitude shifts the moment she feels she might lose you? Drop it in the comments. I am the prize. And here's the thing, this isn't just about women fearing loss. It's about the way your presence transforms when you stop clinging and start living. If you leave now, you'll miss why this shift makes a woman chase the very man she once took for granted. Number 6. Scarcity makes her chase. Have you ever noticed how people want what they can't easily have? It's not just about money, cars, or status symbols. It's human nature. And when it comes to women, scarcity works the same way. If you're always available, if you're constantly there to pick up the phone, answer the text, rearrange your schedule, she starts to assume your time and energy have little value. But the second she feels that access to you is rare, everything changes. Scarcity makes her chase. This isn't about manipulation, it's about the truth of value. Think about it. Diamonds are only valuable because they're rare. Water in the desert is priceless because it's scarce. In relationships, when a man carries himself like a resource that is endlessly available, he becomes the opposite of rare, predictable, replaceable, ordinary. But when he lives fully, with purpose, and doesn't hand over unlimited access to his time, suddenly his presence feels like something she has to earn. The Stoics spoke to this long before modern psychology gave it a label. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The value of a man is no greater than his ambitions." When your life is built on ambition, discipline, and purpose, you naturally create scarcity, not by ignoring her, not by playing cold games, but by living in such a way that she knows your attention isn't a free handout. It must be deserved. And that realization makes her lean in. Psychologically, scarcity triggers desire because it awakens urgency. If she believes you'll always be there, she relaxes, she stops investing. But when she senses that your time is not guaranteed, that your attention is not endless, she feels that pressure. She wonders what you're doing, who you're with, and if she's slipping from your orbit. That uncertainty pulls her in deeper than any constant reassurance ever could. But here's the catch. Scarcity isn't about punishment. Many men get this wrong. They think being scarce means vanishing, ignoring, or trying to stir jealousy. That's not scarcity, that's immaturity. Real scarcity comes from living with depth. When you're building your business, pursuing your passions, working on your body, strengthening your friendships, your life is naturally full. You don't have endless hours to sit by the phone. You don't need to invent excuses. You're busy living, and that busyness is attractive. Epictetus said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." That's the Stoic way of reminding us not to live for validation. When you stop seeking constant approval, you naturally become scarce. You're no longer chasing her validation, so your time and energy gain weight. And women feel that. They sense when a man is rooted in his own mission. So what happens when scarcity sets in? She starts to invest. She texts first. She checks your social media. She plans the next meeting. Why? Because she feels that subtle fear of missing out. And that fear doesn't push her away, it pulls her closer. Her chase isn't about controlling you. It's about securing something she suddenly realizes isn't guaranteed. This is the paradox men often overlook. By always being there, you make her comfortable, but too much comfort kills desire. By stepping back, by creating space, by making her wonder, you ignite the very chase that keeps the connection alive. So here's the truth. Scarcity makes her chase not because you're withholding, but because you're becoming the man whose life is already full. She sees that your presence is not endless, and that realization makes her fight for her place in it. Now, let me ask you, have you ever pulled back and suddenly noticed her chasing harder than ever? Share it below with a strong line, "I live rare." And here's what you need to know: scarcity is only one piece of the bigger puzzle. If you walk away now, you'll miss how the next shift changes the entire dynamic between fear, respect, and desire. Number 7. Boundaries she can't break. Here's the truth most men avoid. A woman will test you. Not because she's evil, not because she doesn't care, but because deep down she wants to know if you're a man with a backbone or just another guy she can bend to her will. And this is where boundaries come in. Boundaries are not walls. They're not cold-hearted rules meant to punish her. Boundaries are lines that protect your values, your time, and your peace. And once you draw them clearly, she can't break them. Let me paint you a picture. Michael, 42, had been dating for years, but he always fell into the same trap. Any time a woman he liked pushed for something that crossed his comfort zone, he gave in. He thought it was being easygoing. But over time, women lost respect for him. Then came Laura, 38. When she tried to cancel last minute, expecting him to just roll with it, Michael responded differently this time. Calmly, he said, "I value my time. If plans change, I'd appreciate more notice." He didn't yell, he didn't chase, he stood firm. Laura felt it, and instead of pulling away, she leaned closer. Why? Because his boundaries told her he respected himself, and that made her respect him more. Women may act frustrated when you first enforce boundaries, but underneath, they feel safer with a man who knows where he stands. Without boundaries, she feels like she can push you endlessly. And here's the paradox. The more she can push, the less she trusts you. Because if you can't even stand up for yourself, how can you stand up for her when it matters? The Stoics had a lot to say about this. Seneca once wrote, "If you don't know what port you're sailing to, no wind is favorable." Boundaries are your port. They give direction, clarity, and meaning to how you handle yourself in a relationship. Without them, you drift. And a man who drifts is never respected for long. Psychologically, boundaries trigger attraction because they create tension. When you calmly say no, when you hold your line, you're showing her that your attention, your presence, your love is not a commodity she can treat carelessly. That tension isn't rejection, it's value. And it's that value that makes her lean in. But let's be real. Enforcing boundaries isn't always smooth. Sarah, 36, once admitted to her friends that she respected her ex more after he finally stopped tolerating her games. At first, she thought she could get away with ignoring his calls for days. But when he matched her silence and carried on with his life, she realized she wasn't as powerful as she thought. She came back, not because he begged, but because he didn't budge. That shift flipped the entire dynamic. Boundaries also prevent you from falling into resentment. Too many men sacrifice their peace for temporary approval. They say yes when they want to say no. They bend when they should stand. And eventually, they explode with anger or withdraw completely. But when you set boundaries early, calmly, and consistently, you remove the poison of resentment before it even begins. Here's the subtle magic. Women are drawn to men who don't need their approval. When you enforce a boundary, you're saying, "I want you here, but I don't need you to define me." And that, more than anything, creates attraction that sticks. So ask yourself, are your boundaries strong enough that she can't break them? Or do you crumble the moment she tests your patience? Now it's your turn. If you've ever set a boundary and noticed her respect for you grow, I want to hear it. Drop it in the comments with a strong line. I stand firm. And here's the thing, you might think, boundaries are the end of the game, but the reality is they're just the beginning. If you leave now, you'll miss the deeper layers of how fear and respect intertwine to pull her closer. Don't make that mistake. Number 8. Respect replaces manipulation. Here's something most men never realize until it's too late. If a woman feels she can manipulate you, attraction quietly dies. Manipulation can look sweet on the surface. It might be her throwing a tantrum to see how you'll react, playing hot and cold to keep you on edge, or using jealousy to provoke you. At first, it might even feel playful, but deep down, she's testing to see if you're a man who bends or a man who commands respect. And here's the key: when respect enters the room, manipulation leaves, because she can't toy with a man who won't play games. The Stoics spoke about this long before modern psychology gave it labels. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery is the antidote to manipulation. If you are swayed by every outburst, every mood, every silent treatment, then you're not free, you're controlled. And a man who is controlled cannot lead, and a man who cannot lead cannot hold a woman's desire. Respect is built on clarity. When you calmly show her through action that you won't tolerate emotional games, you're sending a message: I value myself enough not to be pulled into chaos. And that message cuts deeper than words. She may push harder at first, because old habits die slow. But once she sees that her tactics bounce off you, something shifts. She stops manipulating because it no longer works. And in its place, respect begins to grow. Think of it like this: manipulation thrives in uncertainty, but respect thrives in certainty. When you're uncertain, when you give in today but explode tomorrow, you're feeding manipulation. She learns that all she has to do is push the right button and you'll fold. But when you're consistent, calm, and immovable, the game ends. And what replaces it? A woman who actually values you. Here's where many men get it wrong. They think demanding respect means being aggressive, raising their voice, or using ultimatums. But that's just another form of weakness. It's trying to manipulate her back. Real respect is quiet. It's the firmness of your boundaries. It's the discipline of not reacting emotionally. It's the patience of holding your ground when she tries to storm it. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That strength is what she feels when you refuse to be pulled by her attempts to manipulate. You're not fighting her. You're simply choosing not to participate in the drama. And ironically, that restraint is what earns her respect. There's another layer here. When respect replaces manipulation, attraction deepens. Because what women crave at their core isn't control, it's certainty. She doesn't want to feel like she can push you anywhere she wants. She wants to know you won't move unless it aligns with your principles. That steadiness is rare, and when she feels it, she knows she's with a man she cannot play, but she also cannot replace. Over time, respect also rewrites the dynamic. Instead of trying to pull strings behind the curtain, she leans into honesty. She speaks directly, because games no longer serve her. And that's where intimacy deepens, not in manipulation, but in truth. So here's the hard question. Are you a man she manipulates, or a man she respects? The answer lies in how consistent you are when the tests come. If you've ever cut through manipulation by standing firm, share it in the comments. Use a strong line, "I earn respect." And don't miss what's ahead. If you walk away now, you'll miss the deeper truths about attraction that separate fleeting desire from lasting impact. You'll regret it if you stop here. Number 9. pride she secretly craves. Here's the truth most men don't see. Every woman wants to feel proud of the man she's with. She might never say it out loud, but deep down, she wants to admire you. She wants to look at you and feel that she's chosen a man others respect, a man she respects, a man who gives her pride just by standing next to him. But here's the twist. She won't hand that respect to you. You have to earn it. Take Mark, 42, from Dallas. For years, he let his relationship with Sarah, 39, revolve around her moods. If she wanted something, he jumped. If she was upset, he scrambled to fix it. On the surface, he thought he was being caring, but beneath it, Sarah stopped feeling proud of him. She couldn't brag about him. She couldn't admire him. And over time, she pulled away. Then came the shift. Mark decided to reclaim his direction. He started taking his fitness seriously again, built consistency at work, and stopped apologizing for living by his standards. Suddenly, Sarah noticed. At dinner with friends, she caught herself smiling when someone complimented him. That pride returned, not because Mark tried to impress her, but because he lived in a way that impressed himself. This is what women secretly crave. A man whose pride is rooted in who he is, not in what she thinks of him. Marcus Aurelius once said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's exactly it. She doesn't want to hear you talk about your value. She wants to feel it through how you carry yourself. If your life commands pride, she can't help but feel proud to stand by you. The mistake many men make is confusing arrogance with pride. Arrogance screams for validation. Pride is quiet, steady, undeniable. It's in how you move through the world, the respect you demand from yourself before you ever demand it from her. And here's the irony. When you stop chasing her admiration, when you start building a life that commands admiration on its own, that's when she gives it freely. She tells her friends about you. She brags in subtle ways. She feels chosen because she knows you're a man others would want, but you chose her. That feeling, it runs deeper than flowers, gifts, or empty words. So the question isn't, does she admire you? The question is, are you living in a way that she can admire? Are you someone she can brag about when no one's watching? Drop it in the comments if you've felt this shift before. Say it strong. I live with pride. And remember this, if you turn away now, you'll miss the insights that separate men who fade from men women never forget. Stay with me, because what's next carries a weight you don't want to miss. Number 10. The man she can't finish. Some men leave quietly. They fade, forgotten, like background noise in her life. But then there are men who never fully leave her, even when the relationship ends, even when months or years pass. He is the man she can't finish, and that has nothing to do with lingering texts, grand gestures, or clinging for attention. It's about who he became while she was with him, and who he continued to be after she was gone.